We are recording this in case you would like to revisit it or share it with colleagues that couldn't make it today. So we're very glad to do that. And I will also say at the outset here that the recording, along with the slides and a lot of handouts, will be all available online after this is over. So don't feel like you have to be copying everything down or writing everything. It'll all be available for you. With that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So if you did miss the first session, it will be all available too for you. And but today we're focusing on more of the programming for kids and teens and general services for all ages in the first hour or so. And then about the second hour, we'll have a 5-minute break. And then it'll be over to Melody to talk about community helpers and how you can engage them for the summer program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All righty. Sorry for my delay. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we are at the Library Services Workshop. And we went over this slide last time, but just to kind of get back into the groove, we're going to be talking about the 2023 Collaborative Summer Library Program theme of All Together Now. And we reviewed that CSLP. We'll be talking about CSLP today. And I did want to let you know too that you'll see the artwork for the 2023 program today in our slides. It is not all the artwork. There's plenty more available for you to use in the manual this year. But even if you are not going to use the theme from CSLP, this is still such a great theme to use just all the time, and not just for summer either, but all the time. It's great for social and emotional learning, which we talked about last week, and just bringing together the community in general. So I wanted to bring up this slide too, just to get us in the mindset again of this theme. So here's some ways you can think about this theme All Together Now, where you can have focus on kindness for others, for your community as a whole, for animals, the environment, and also for yourself. That's a great thing to emphasize here is self-care, and focus on that. And I would love to know what other thoughts you have around this theme. If you were here last year, we did this exercise as well, but maybe you've thought of new things since then, or maybe you missed last week's session, but would love to hear anything that you've thought of around this theme. It is so broad. Sometimes that can hinder how do I even start on this? How can I even frame this? To start thinking about it. So if you could type in the chat, or you can even unmute yourself and speak and just say any ideas that you've had around this theme or how you're thinking about it. And Melody, if you could read anything that comes in the chat.
Everyone must be just gathering all of their great ideas.
and maybe that's why you're here today, is to figure out how to get started. That's just fine.
Right. So Brianna says she plans to print packets with activities. And it looks like she's got a link from the Random Acts of Kindness website for all of their wonderful resources.
Excellent.
Colleen says all together in Colorado. And it kind of helps to zero in.
Nice. Oh, I love that. Focus on the state. That's great.
Judy Ann says, I'm really leaning towards teamwork and cooperation. Just wonderful.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Great, great initial thoughts. I really appreciate that. I love the way you're thinking about it.
Oh, Lee Ramey said she saw on the CSLP Facebook group, someone's doing Summer of Love. So
Oh,
kind of giving it a 60s twist.
nice. And thanks, Lee, for the reminder that CSLP does have a Facebook group, and people post great ideas on there. So you might want to check that out too and follow that.
Marcy says they've tweaked it to cultivating kindness and really incorporating all of those things. Lots of activities having to do with being a friend, seeing the good things about yourself. It's great. Brandon says we're doing Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Nice.
I really like
Lovely.
that. I'm such a Fred Rogers like fangirl.
Oh, those are all wonderful. Thank you. And yes, Random Act of Kindness is an amazing organization. We have been working with them. It turns out they're based in Denver. We learned that when we were doing some research on this for this presentation here, and they've been really wonderful to work with. We're going to be reaching out and doing more with them. But they have amazing resources on their website. You could easily do a whole summer program using nothing but their resources. They're really fantastic. And so I'm excited to see where that partnership takes off, but they're really excited to work with libraries. So, but that one's going to be great. I look forward to that. So we're going to jump in and talk about sort of some overarching services for all ages. And then later we'll transition to talking about kids and teens. But I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, just in the interest of time here. But in keeping with this all together now theme, here's some services you might consider providing that will be an amazing help to your community. So many people in your community. One is, of course, to provide food whenever possible, and that could mean the friends group buying some snacks, or it could be a larger partnership with the Summer Food Service Program or some of the other organizations in your community that might provide food, like the food bank. A lot of libraries are doing that to provide food not only on site, but even food for folks to take home who may be in need. Or you could consider putting up a little free pantry, which is similar to a little free library, except it has non-perishable food. So that is a great all together now service, and a great anytime service, of course. Providing free menstrual supplies it can be a huge help to so many people who need them. They are expensive, and if you can provide them freely in your bathrooms, that would be really, really a great service. The little photo here on the left, it says Flow. This is a program called Ant Flow, and it's sort of a subscription program, and it does cost money, but it's very reasonably priced. You can put this in your bathrooms, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. If you can get a basket with tampons and pads in it with a little sign that says free, that's all you really need in there. But again, this can provide an amazing service for so many people. Providing laundry access is another option. You see here the photo at the top right is at the Westminster Public Library in Colorado, and they partner with a nonprofit laundry truck that comes around once a week. A couple other metro area libraries do this as well. But even if this sort of thing really is only available in larger urban areas, and if this is not something available in your community, which it well may not be, there are other things you can do too. You can perhaps partner with a laundromat to get vouchers, and you can distribute the vouchers very discreetly to people, or just have them available so that people may use them to launder their clothes for free. It's a huge service. Get rid of your overdue fines, of course, that's huge. Can also take the next step, which is much harder, but which is getting rid of fees for lost and damaged children's materials. We have a webinar coming up from CLEL on that on the 26th. So you can learn more about how the Broomfield Library has managed to make this happen last year, and it's going to be great. So if you are interested in how to accomplish this, you can check that webinar out. You can bring in therapy dogs for more than just your Read to the Dog program if you have one of those going on. But bring in therapy dogs too for people in the library to enjoy, to help them de-stress. Some academic libraries bring in therapy dogs at exam time, especially to help with that stress level. But the therapy dogs really can help a lot of people, and you can partner with nonprofits to bring those dogs in. Again, little free libraries and little free pantries to distribute free books and non-perishable food throughout your community that the library could sponsor or at least put up. And you could also have food and hygiene supply drives. A lot of libraries do these already, but you can collect the food and also hygiene supplies, everything from toothbrushes and toothpaste, soap, socks, and gloves, warm clothes as well. Provide at least one gender neutral bathroom in the library. Can go a long way to help make your library more accessible for everyone. And really, if you have any single stall bathroom, that can be a gender neutral bathroom for sure. And then you could have a program to donate to a charity instead of giving out incentives for your summer program. Several libraries in Colorado have done this very nicely. Usually you have to do this through your friends group, but you can say, okay, in lieu of giving out a trinket, we're going to save that money and give it to a charity instead. I know that was a laundry list there. So Melody, has anything come in the chat? I'd love to hear some feedback on these.
Yeah. For going fine free. Cindy says it's one of the best things they've done for their patrons.
Excellent.
And we had some interest in the link for the CLEL event, so we got that shared out.
Thank you. Great. Super. And so this library here, this is actually a school library, but they've done something very interesting. They actually created this social emotional learning section in the library. And so we're going to play a little video, and hopefully this will work just fine. It's short.
At first, the students were very reluctant, but after about day 2 or 3, they went. They were all gone like hotcakes. And the idea is that students will have the opportunity to explore and find other ways to channel energy and stress and emotions other than just through their social media or their phones and things like that.
So I thought that was just a great example of actually having a space specifically in your library for social and emotional learning, which I think is great. And again, we did this section last week, much more in depth on social and emotional learning. And so if you missed that and you're interested in learning more, we'll be sharing the link to that archive so you can catch that. But that's another option, is just to actually build it into your library. Oops, sorry. I seem to always do that. Okay. Another option is to have these free care kits. This particular one is at the DeKalb County Public Library, but we know from some of our other workshops that several Colorado libraries have done this as well. One of them was Aurora. They told us all about that at one of the in-person workshops. So these generally consist of care kits for community members who are unhoused or experiencing other life challenges. And this kit particularly includes includes hygiene and toiletry items like wipes, shampoo, soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, socks, and a washcloth. But of course, you could put in whatever you can gather. And these were given in this little waterproof backpack here, and it was funded by the Library Foundation, and they gave away more than 350 care kits. The Aurora Library had a grant to create these kits, and they said it was very, very successful, and they were very pleased to be able to provide this service to residents in their community. So this is also fits so well with that All Together Now theme. And just having friendly signage. I love these signs. As you come in, you kind of know that you're very welcome here, right? The one on the left, these are the things you can do, right? It's not all, you don't walk into the library and you see signs that are very negative. No cell phones, no food, no drinks. And it's all the negatives. Here, this is all very positive. You are all welcome. And if you read the fine print, I know it's probably hard to read the fine print here, there are some caveats to these things, but to put up the positive, the what you can do front and center is really very welcoming. And this photo in the center, you walk in the library in the big lobby and it say free to all, right? So everyone knows that it's free and everyone is welcome. And it's the same with this sign from Hennepin County Library on the right, all are welcome here. And then it actually goes around the circle and lists age, belief, citizenship status, economic status. So again, these welcoming signs can really make a difference so that everyone knows that they belong there at your library. You also might consider creating, it depends, this really varies a lot, of course, depending on your grounds, your library. But if you could create maybe a safe space outdoors, even when your library is not open. So if you have the space, and this one is really extensive, this is called the Garden of Reflection in Derry in Northern Ireland, where they had so much civil strife. This was created as a way for people to meditate, to gather, to enjoy a quiet, safe outdoor space, and also to meet with their community members too. Again, in a safe, neutral space that is calming. So if you have a small space, even something very simple, for people to gather outdoors, that could be helpful. And here's some thoughts to circulate. And of course, this runs the gamut. There are so many opportunities here to circulate. And I love it if you have anything that you might circulate that could go along with the All Together Now theme, either something you already circulate or that you consider circulating, please do type it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you too on this. But you could do all kinds of wellness or meditation kits, mindfulness kits. That can be really helpful. A lot of Colorado libraries are already doing these very well. Memory kits to help seniors who are experiencing dementia, and also their caregivers. Also, there's some great kits for them out there as well. Some family book discussion kits. For instance, we have the Conscious Child here from the Oxford Lane Library. They have family book discussion kits. And anti-bullying kits. We have some here from the Nelson Public Library, and I'll read you a little bit what's in here. So the anti-bullying kit has books for preschool through middle school, 2 books for parents, and a board game. They also have, not pictured, 2 anti-racism kits from the Nelson Library, which include, again, books from toddlers through middle school, laminated set of 10 tips for teaching and talking to kids about race, and a booklet, Beyond the Golden Rule, A Parent's Guide to Preventing and Responding to Prejudice, a card game called the New Happy Family Game, and also it has a separate kit just for adults with 5 titles. So those can be great things to put together and circulate. Some really great ideas out there. Also, some kits specifically on social and emotional learning. So again, lots of examples there online. Melody, is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, so Polly shared some details about the care kits that they put together. They got their local family center, dentists, and churches to contribute and distributed about 125 for just a cost of $50, which is really accessible.
Yeah, thank you, Polly. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
And then I added an idea that just popped when we were talking about memory kits. We always think about it as helping, you know, seniors with dementia, but I think really for just families in general, having that family history and those kits to encourage that like intergenerational conversations, I think could be fit in that theme of coming all together as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. Great tip.
And Polly says they're a great tool for story time as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. That's great. So here we have a lot of take and make options too. I may not go through these all. I may pick a few that I have more specifics on. So Pine River Library in Colorado has done a self-care take and make with natural bath bombs. And they have a dark chocolate in there as well. And they have a stress busting tea with calming lavender and chamomile, coloring pages for a stress busting art session, and a list of self-care activities. So those do make up a lovely take and make self-care bag. I think I would like to get one. I think it would be very helpful for the stress. You know, some other options here are this one is specifically with Random Acts of Kindness kit. These are from Merrimack Public Library in New Hampshire. They actually took a lot of those random act of kindness ideas and put it into a take and make. So they have 2 pieces of sidewalk chalk, sticky notes, and an envelope with paper, all to leave an uplifting message. A trash bag to help your community by picking up litter. 3 mammoth sunflower seeds and soil discs to plant a little sunshine. A mini kind bar, a complimentary bookmark, and a kindness bingo sheet. So I thought that was a lovely way to use the amazing material that Random Act of Kindness offers to you. So great stuff. Oh, and here, there's also another take and make to mention, making cards for senior citizens, children's hospitals, the Meals on Wheels program, and disaster areas. So that's another lovely take and make. You can have people either send it directly, or you can have them bring it back to the library and you can send them as a package to the letters to the cards to the package wherever they're going. And here are just a few partners that work so well with this theme. And some of them are Colorado specific, like Random Acts of Kindness based in Colorado. There's also an organization called Pure Kindness. It's based in Montrose, and they do some excellent anti-bullying programs, and they're a nonprofit. Spark the Change Colorado does a lot with volunteerism. So great for adults and teens as well. Raising Kindness, again, anti-bullying type. There's one specific to Colorado Springs, the Unity Project, which is very interesting. And then there's Sister Cities International, if you want to get involved in that program. Sort of each thing is, each community that has a sister city has its own chapter of it. So you'd have to look up your local chapter, but that is an interesting way to connect with another city globally. And here are 2 more at the end: Best Buddies Colorado and Friendship Circle of Colorado. I have not reached out to them, so they just looked like interesting potential partners for you. You might want to check those out. And there may be more in your local community too. So think creatively and you can come up with a lot of partners. And here's some national celebration days, great ways to highlight kindness and service. None of these are in the summer. However, you can definitely still highlight them, and if you'd like, tie them into your summer program. And they're just great to put out there to your communities. Let them know what's available, what's here. And now we will move on to kids.
And so
Yeah, go ahead.
Brianna had just mentioned that even though it's summer, you can have a program to crochet hats or scarves for the homeless population and hand them out in winter, or on November 13th on International Kindness Day.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. That's a lovely program. Absolutely lovely. So we'll transition to kids here. So some options for kids. Service projects are always great. For instance, the one we just heard about, right? Crocheting hats. Maybe that's something that the kids can help with. There are all sorts of service projects that even kids can help with. Definitely think about what they might do to get involved in their community, to really help out their community. And as much as that can be led by the kids, that's great. They get a lot of buy-in. They get experience, a little bit of experience with collaboration and working out there in the community and seeing what community needs are. So whatever kind of service project for kids might work in your community. Similarly, community science projects, and that term has traditionally been citizen science projects. There's a movement away from citizen science because it sounds like you must be a citizen to participate. So the move is to community science projects, but it's still the idea that everyone, including kids, can get involved in science projects that have real world applications. And it's a fabulous way for people to realize that everyone can do science. It's not just for scientists, or some people say, "Oh, I'm not good at science. I can't participate. I don't know enough." Everyone can, and these are everything from bird watching to cloud observations to measuring precipitation. There's a huge array of community science projects out there, and so many of them would be perfectly appropriate for kids. So that's definitely something your library could organize and promote out there around citizen science or community science projects. Yeah, I just looked up. Collaborative puzzles, anything from jigsaw puzzles to online puzzles, even just having a jigsaw puzzle set out in the kids area for kids to come in and do for a few minutes, even as they're in and out of the library, can be a lot of fun. A Halloween, not at summer, but a Halloween costume exchange can be a great way to increase accessibility for a lot of kids who may not be able to afford costumes. And also, a lot of families don't want to keep those costumes around lying in the house. They'd much rather have something somewhere for them to go after Halloween is over, right? Get them out of the house. So if you could arrange for a costume exchange, or even a donation program, because some families may not have one to exchange. So just a way to make this piece of Americana more accessible to everybody. Yoga is always great for kids. Add some goats, it's even better. Lots of fun there, and really fits with the All Together Now theme and the kindness to self, right? Great activity there. Kindness Rocks. Here we have an example from the Seminole County Public Library in the photo. You can also certainly have kids make these little rocks, have them as a library program, you can have them paint them, leave little uplifting messages, and then either leave them around the community, or as this library has done, you can have a little rock garden in a space just outside your library where people can drop a stone that they've decorated and pick up a stone that inspires them. So that's one option. And then a collaborative art project, and there's so many options for these. You could have children, and I've seen this at so many libraries, each child gets to paint a tile, and then you put the tiles up in the library, or it can be as temporary or as permanent also as you want. So even just getting a great big piece of paper and having everyone do some artwork at the same time can be fun. You can do a collaborative chalk art program. So lots and lots of options. And we've got an example of this later, where that's more specific. And labyrinths are another great way for kids to practice self-care. And there are lots of ways you can do labyrinths. I learned a lot about labyrinths. So a labyrinth is different than a maze in that there's only one way in and out. So it's not like a maze where you're having to make decisions and trying to figure out where you're supposed to go. And so you can, so they're very meditative because they are sort of guided. You can not think about it and just enjoy being in this space and in this pathway. And so there are all different kinds of labyrinths. Here on the left is one you can do with paper clips or string, or all different ways. And the one on the right as well, this is just a little more permanent version. These are called finger labyrinths. And there are lots of patterns. We have patterns in our resource handout for you. But these are great for kids because they can just trace their fingers through these patterns. And it can be very relaxing. It's very tactile. And kids can just trace the fingers. They can even close their eyes. And it can be very calming. So this can be fun, and you can have it as a program for them to make their own finger labyrinths. And again, we have some suggested resources on that. You can also do a labyrinth. I love this one in leaves in the middle. This is not at all a traditional labyrinth pattern, but it works, right? And it's easy. And the kids, you can see the kids out here enjoying it. So if you have an outdoor space or even an indoor space, you can create a small labyrinth that people can go to enjoy. Any comments in the chat? Okay.
Not currently.
And we're not going to do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. Just saying that it's quiet in the chat right now.
Okay. We're not going to take the time to do small groups for this, but I would love if you would just take a moment, and you already might be thinking about these programs, but just take a moment, maybe pick one of these bulleted items for kids and type in your initial thoughts for a program idea for one of these. And while you're thinking about that, I'll share this lovely collaborative art project on the right, which I really love this idea. This is from the Barberton Public Library in Ohio. You can buy either blank puzzles, so puzzles that don't have any design on them, or you can buy a regular puzzle and just use the blank back pieces and have each child decorate it in some way, and then you can still put it together. So you have all the unique artwork from the kids, but it's together in a community way, and I really love that. So anyway, I will give you a moment to think about, just start to get your wheels turning about how you might turn the All Together Now theme into a program for kids.
We've got some ideas coming in.
Great.
So painting rocks to distribute to senior centers,
Nice.
asking kids to help decorate the children's room with a handprint mural.
Oh, I love that.
An outdoor event, setting up an obstacle course or ropes course type of event with collaborative games to encourage working together. Different take and make kits about different countries around the world.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice exploration one. A river cleanup day, some sort of like
Great.
community cleanup. Building or painting birdhouses to hang in a fire damaged forest. Oh, I love that. That's a wonderful twist on it.
It is. Oh, such great ideas. Thank you for sharing all those. Those really are rich ideas.
Oh, Shonda would like a bingo sheet of random acts of kindness
Oh.
ideas. We may have some of those for you.
Indeed. So Random Acts of Kindness literally has 30 different bingo sheets just for adults. And then they have more for teens and more for kids. They have bingo sheets, and they have calendars that you can print out. They have really amazing materials and so many of them. So yeah, that's doable.
There's so many ideas coming in. Not only cleaning up the grounds, but also spending time inside assisted living centers to really make those intergenerational connections.
Right.
An outdoor intergenerational event with an obstacle course and pairing between different ages. Like a Nerf war or water balloon fight. So a community project of story boxes. So this is from Beth Fulp, and they're giving out plastic boxes and asking people to fill them with mementos, nothing too precious. And then those will be put on display and have a variety of activities like writing a poem or story or illustrating someone else's box. Oh, that's really original.
Oh.
I like that.
That's lovely.
Beverly's asking where the bingo sheets are. We will have links and resources and everything for you. See, Betsy says last year they partnered with schools, churches, and other community partners to deliver 900 family summer reading kits. They're looking to do that again, partnering with schools to offer the summer reading experience to those who might not make it into the library. So that's a wonderful way to really emphasize that, you know, outreach is about getting out, not necessarily about always bringing people in.
Yeah. Oh, such great ideas, everyone. Thank you for sharing. We're going to move on to teens, but please keep your ideas coming. Oh, I saw another one. Let's see, pop up.
And Brent just says, you know, really getting the whole town involved. I think that this is just such a great summer opportunity to really bring your whole community back together. Oh, and having a scavenger hunt.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. We've heard in, you know, other workshops that we've done that we picked this, like CSLP picked this theme years before the pandemic happened. And because we've had some comments that say, wow, this is such a great theme for this year, this summer, when people really can hopefully get back together in person as a community. And that was strictly by chance that the timing worked that well. But that is definitely an amazing aspect, an amazing opportunity with this theme. So yeah. Any more before we move to teens?
No, I think we've gone through all the awesome ideas that were shared.
Great. We will move on to teens. I know this is really fast. So for teens, some options here are, again, community service projects. And with teens, this is pretty limitless. And some teens in you know, some schools, they need volunteer credits for their schools or perhaps other organizations that they're involved with. So lots of community service projects that your library may organize could count for those hours but really this is limitless in what they can do. And I would love to hear in the chat if you've done any of these community service projects with teens in your library. That would be great. And again, with the community science projects, teens are able to do a little bit higher level, and so many options for teens. And again, such a great way to connect them with real world STEM activities and projects. Like, they really are making a difference for the scientific community, and anyone can do these. So again, a lot of great opportunities there. The next one is a major project. This is making sleeping mats from plastic bags. You can see the bottom photo here from the Hubbard Public Library. They did this program. And so basically you have to gather huge numbers of plastic bags. And now with our plastic bag fee in Colorado, this probably just got a notch harder to do. But if you can gather those plastic bags and have someone in the community teach other people how to crochet, you can actually make these plastic mats and give them out to people experiencing homelessness in your community. This is not a project to be undertaken lightly, for sure. It takes a lot of dedicated volunteer help and a lot of plastic bags. So, but if you are looking for some kind of larger, meaningful project, this might be a good one. And it's called Plarning. And again, we have resources on Plarning on the resource handout. Again, a collaborative art project. This could be, again, just it runs the gamut. Chalk art, a mural, a mosaic, and we have a nice video of a mosaic project coming up. You could have an online art project, a quilt, a group quilt, either sewn or a paper quilt. And we have an example here. This San Diego Public Library did a project called Words Alive. And this is both a writing and an art project. They did some creative writing, but then put it together in a really visually appealing and stimulating way. So it was creative in a couple of different ways, and really great program to combine both, because then you're attracting teens who love the creative writing part, but also teens who love the visual arts part. So it's got both. Or any kind of a group writing project. You could have one of those, poetry by tweet going on, or a short story. Or you can even do a lovely passive program where you have something up in your library where one teen will write a sentence, and then another teen will come in perhaps the next day or the next week and write sentence number 2, and then someone else sentence number 3. And then when it seems done, you can capture it and put it on your social media perhaps, or your website, our newsletter. So all kinds of creative group writing projects for teens. And definitely make your book club choices for teens as inclusive as possible. So be sure to choose those inclusive books very intentionally. And do we have something up in the chat?
Just a little feedback on the sleeping mats, that we're talking a day's worth of work, not just hours.
Yes. Yes, it's a project. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, it is definitely a larger project.
Yeah, maybe with some take-home work, but
there you go. Yeah.
And I also just thought, if you have been toying with the idea of trying a Dungeons and Dragons group with your teens, like, it is a very collaborative activity. Like, you are working together as a campaign. It could be a fun time to launch that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's great. Okay, so for teens, I mentioned for kids, you could do a Halloween costume exchange. For teens, you could do a prom dress exchange. The Jefferson County Public Library does that here in Colorado. And again, a prom dress is not something that a lot of people want to keep. So, and they may not wear it again. So why not have an exchange? or a way just for people to donate their prom dresses. And it says prom dress, but the Jeffco libraries and others also do accessories and other things, purses or shoes that people may not use again. So that's a great way to make the prom more accessible for a lot of people who may not be able to afford that nice dress or those nice pairs of shoes that they would like to go and look their best at the prom. You could do a guided meditation programs for teens. That's great. You could also do a dial-in phone-in meditation, which some libraries do, where you have the guided meditation session recorded on the phone. And so people just need to call in, and it's like on a voicemail, and they just listen to the meditation on the phone. And they change it up maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month or something. That's a great thing to partner with an organization on that does meditation. Same with yoga. Again, add goats or kittens, and it's just even better. And the next one is, I think I'm pronouncing this right, hygge. It's a Scandinavian philosophy of life, and it involves taking time every day to just be. It's usually social. There's usually a little bite of something sweet to eat, and it's just a time to take a break and build that into your day every day. So there's lots that you can do around this. You can have baking. You can just talk about the philosophy. You can actually have maybe you set aside 15 minutes in the library every day for hygge, and anyone who wants to can come along and join in, and you could have a little snack for everyone, and you could just be together. And there's no schedule. That's the point of it, right? There's no schedule. There's nothing planned. Another option is for teens to make these benches. And so sometimes they're called buddy benches, which is a little more specific, but also there's more positivity or friendship benches. So a buddy bench, particularly this one is at the Madison Public Library here in the photo. These were developed to put into elementary schools. And so if there's a particular on the playground, if there's a child who may be new to school or doesn't have anyone to play with, they can sit on the buddy bench. And so then others in the class will see them and come invite them to play. This has been shown to be successful. And usually, again, it is in elementary schools, but perhaps you could work with an elementary school. The teens could build this, a nice little construction engineering project for them as well. And they could be creative and decorate it like this. And then you could donate it to the elementary school, or perhaps there's a playground nearby that you could do that with, or maybe even on the library grounds, like here at the Madison Public Library. There are also these sort of looser concepts like positivity or friendship benches. And these are often more in parks and things like that. And it's just sort of an invitation. If you're sitting on the bench and someone's walking by in the community, in the park, you can, they're open to having someone sit with them and talk with them. So again, that's another way for teens to have a little engineering project and creative project, but also give back to the community. Any thoughts on any of these? No? Okay. We have a few more ideas for teens here. So one charming idea is for teens to write and hide uplifting messages. And there are a number of ways that they can do this. But one of the loveliest ways that I found is to, and again, this can be a program at your library, a little craft program, but it'd also be a take and make something that they do at home and then bring back to the library. But is to write and decorate bookmarks with uplifting messages. And then they hide them in books in the library for someone to discover serendipitously. And so it can be anything from, general inspirational messages to something about that specific book. Like, this book made a real difference to me, and I hope it does for you as well. Or it could be something like, have a great day, or you're a great person, something along those lines, whatever the teens would like. But I like that. Or they could hide, kindness rocks around the library. There are lots of ways to go about that. But that was really nice to hide the uplifting messages in the books, especially. The next one is definitely more involved. This is the Four Freedoms Project from the Waltham Public Library. Again, there's a link with a lot more information to this on your resource handout. And this was completely teen-led. The teens really wanted to make a difference and make their voices heard in the community. So they got together at the library and just guided by the library staff, but really on their own, they decided to make these signs, these yard signs. And so some of them say freedom from, and some say freedom to. And then they passed them out to teens in their community who could write anything they wanted to fill in the blank there. And then they put them up around the library. And so there's some really powerful photos of, like this one, with the teens with their signs, showing the community, what's on their mind, what's important to them. So we could have some project like that. You could definitely have teens assemble kits to give away at charities. And this could be, you could get the materials donated or perhaps purchased through a grant or your library foundation funds. And then work with a nonprofit who gives away those kits. But definitely some, hygiene kit like we saw earlier, or food baskets and warm clothes, things along those lines. Your teens could build and decorate little free libraries. And a lot of libraries in Colorado have done that with their teens. And then you can partner, you can either put it up in front of your library or partner with your community in some way to put it up in front of a food bank, perhaps, or housing development, or a park. And so everyone can share in the little free library. But again, giving the teens that building project and that creative project to decorate it to can get a lot of teens involved. And there's a ton you can do around bullying prevention that goes beautifully with the theme of All Together Now. So again, the organization Pure Kindness, based in Montrose, does a lot of this. And there are lots of other organizations that can do bullying prevention programs for teens that can be very effective. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, so we've got a few. Emily just says that wants to show that she loves the meditation idea and is also now thinking about expanding that prom dress idea just to general clothing swap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
And like I'm starting to go down a rabbit hole looking this up. Polly shares that Trex does a bag recycling program. So you collect plastic bags, including all of that plastic film, and it can be collected in a certain amount of weight. They're exchanged for a bench made from the recycled plastic. So it kind of combines this like recycling idea with the buddy bench idea. And I'm like Googling Trex because I had not heard of them before.
How great.
Shonda saw the yard signs and thought it would be neat for teens to write positive notes on them and put them in people's yards, or
nice.
kind of along community throughways.
Nice.
Oh, Amanda says that she's done the Trex benches.
Oh.
Awesome. If anyone finds a link for that, I found one just for Trex in general, but not directly with the bench.
Oh, these are such great ideas. Thank you. I love it. Cool. Well, keep typing in your ideas. We're just about through with teens here. We're going to watch one. I love this video. This is one great example of a collaborative art project that a library coordinated. So we're going to take a look at this short video.
Project we're doing this is the muralist group, and we're making a mural at Joel. They're opening up again, and this is going to be a big piece. So I just thought that was a great example of a teen community art project, collaborative community art project. And one thing I love about it is it's so easily accessible. Like I am not an artistic person. And normally if someone said collaborative art project, I would run away the other way. But this one I'm watching is like, oh, I could do that. And also, who doesn't love to smash plates? And it's so easy. And I love that they teamed the teens with an actual local artist. You know, how often do a lot of teens get to work with a professional artist? So I just love this project. It's easy, it's accessible. They had great partnership, and they did something great for the community. So I love it. And I did it again. Okay. There we go. So what might summer look like for your teens? Ask your teens is the top #1 answer I'd give there. Let them give you as much input as they can. And you'll get a lot of buy-in that way. You'll think of things that you've never thought of, and you'll know exactly what's on their minds, what their interests and needs are. If you ask them, start there. Keep it simple, both for you, your staff, and the teens. If you complicate it too much, you're going to lose someone in there. Make it as accessible as possible. Partnerships are really key. You can be so much more sustainable and widespread if you have great partnerships. Let your teens lead it themselves as much as possible. Again, you're going to get great buy-in. You're going to give them really valuable leadership skills, collaborative skills, and they can take it and run with it in ways you may never have anticipated, which in a good way. Have it as much as possible, have multiple formats available. The teens may not be able to participate in the same way. So perhaps if you have an in-person session at the library, maybe have an online option for them, people to join who can't be there in person. Take it out into the community also, in case there are teens that want to come but can't come to the library. And again, take it into the community. Provide the services to teens where they are when they're there. They're not all going to come to the library, and they still need the services. So you need to take it to them. You can't expect them to come to the library. Focus on those underserved audiences, the people that can't make it to the library because of, transportation. They have to work after school. They have to work on the weekend. They're taking care of a family member, perhaps. There's so many reasons that teens can't come to the library. So if you find out the best ways and places and venues and times to serve them, do as much as possible for that. Make it as simple as possible. Reduce barriers to participation. If you keep things simple, that can help. And do provide some service-based options that can attract a lot of teens. Again, a lot of teens have those volunteer requirements. And if you can help them meet those requirements, they will be really happy to participate. So, any more comments in the chat?
No, we did get a link to the Trex program, but
Oh,
other than
great.
that, it's
Thanks.
been
Excellent. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That was an awful lot in a short time. So sorry, I was sort of for the deluge. But thank you so much for your amazing input. That was wonderful. As always, I've learned so much from you, and everyone else has learned from you as well. So thank you, thank you. We're going to take a short break, about 5 minutes.
right. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to stretch and get back to it. So to continue this idea of developing our programming around the theme of All Together Now, we're going to kind of look at this concept as that of community involvement piece and looking at the community partners that we can engage this summer. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Bear with me here. Nope, that's not where I wanted to start from. There we go. Okay. So the first thing I think of when I saw All Together Now is really building that community and inviting both the community into our library and our library out into the community. One of the wonderful ways that we can do this is through community partners. Now, community partners are mutually beneficial because not only are we really looking at placing the library in the center of the community, both building those relationships and being visible as connected with the rest of our community. Most of these community partners offer their services and their cooperation free of charge. And it also allows us and them to reach a wider audience through cross-promotion and also just word of mouth. You know, when you work successfully with other organizations in your community, they're more likely to talk positively about the library, recommend people to the library, and vice versa. I often find that, you know, these invitations to join the library to your local community partners is some of the easiest phone calls that you're going to make, because both of you have a mutual interest in serving the community, and they are just as eager to work with you as you are to have them come to the library and work with your patrons. And it also helps connecting families and patrons with the resources and information that your community has to offer. So we're going to look at two program models that have been successful in kind of making those connections. And the first is much more low key. We can go into the name of Meet the Experts or various other titles, but the idea behind this is just creating a space for conversation. So it's not a big splashy program. It can fit easily into ongoing programs that you have, whether it's a story time, just a play group that meets in the library, or any other children and family programs that are already ongoing. By inviting community experts into these programs, not necessarily to do a presentation or read a story, but to be present and to give space for conversations to happen. This creates just a very safe space for caregivers to ask some difficult questions. It may introduce the families and caregivers to resources that they weren't even aware we're in their community and really brings in those voices of expertise. Because a lot of times we are looked at as the experts as library staff. And while we can often connect people to those outside resources, we don't have all the answers. And so bringing people with the answers into the library, into that trusted space, can really be a great open door. You're also creating networks of support within the participants, because as you create the safe space to ask questions, a lot of times maybe there's another parent or caregiver who also has insight or who has had a similar experience. And so you really are creating an opportunity to come together as a community and support each other. Again, you're leveraging that word of mouth and outreach. You know, if you ask dentists and pediatricians to come into your library, when they're seeing families later, if they have a positive experience, if you've shared with them what else libraries have to offer for the families they serve, they're more likely to mention the library and sort of prescribe a trip to the library to the families that they work with. But if you want to be big and splashy, because, you know, summer of reading is the time to go big, touch a truck events are another way to really get some really interesting segments of your community and those bigger community helpers to your library, or combine with them in other larger spaces in your community to have these events. Now, it can be a one-time large event with lots and lots of trucks all together, or it can be a series. You know, 1 week the fire truck comes, another week your construction truck comes, the next week the garbage truck comes. That's really helpful if you're working with a smaller space or having a hard time coordinating these series, these different services to come on the same date. Touch a trucks bring the wow factor. There's just something about a great big truck that is going to bring all the families to your library. And they really are attractive to all ages. You know, I still get excited when I see a fire truck. You can also really get a different variety of people, of community members at these two different events. You know, where your Meet the Experts event is going to be those more professional, kind of like behind the desk type community members. You know, these could be, you know, your public works and construction workers, farm workers, people that, you know, might not have that as much of that expertise, but it really goes a long way showing that every aspect of our community is welcome at the library. And so let's just do a little brainstorming. So in the chat, if you are planning one of these events, who would you invite? And Beth, if you could help me out with what's coming up in the chat. So we explore who would we invite?
Absolutely. An ambulance, Emily says. Great suggestion. Amanda adds, we've had the police here, but I love the idea of having a construction company come. Yeah, definitely. And the police also are a great idea. Trisha says, I'd like to invite local fitness experts like karate teachers, for example. Great.
Nice.
Yeah. Amanda mentions a garbage truck. You know, trash people who work on the trash collection are really unsung heroes in the community. So it's a great way to get them out there and, you know, let people know they're real people behind those trucks. Chris mentions local artists and face painting. Nice. Emily says town public works. Lee adds Kona ice or food trucks to add something fun to the event. Nice. Shanda has had touch a truck, police, fire, ambulance, army Humvee, public works vehicles, vintage vehicles, and more. That's amazing. I want to go. Oh, and Colleen says musicians. Great. Yeah, have the local musicians around. That's great too.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Like touch an instrument instead of touch a truck.
Yeah. Great. Well, great ideas, everyone.
Yeah. Keep the ideas rolling as well. If you see anything different from the past two in person, we collected a lot of really great ideas that I wanted to definitely put out there and share. And we kind of divided these up into those, more expertise area that, might be better with a smaller, more personal, conversation-based program, versus more of the outdoor, truck-based programming that we have. And so I know a few of these that had kind of surprised me when they came up, is this idea of, actually inviting kindergarten teachers to do a kindergarten readiness at the end of summer with some of the teachers, especially if you're in a small community where it's likely that these are the teachers the children in your community will be meeting. Also having like the sports coaches or lifeguards to talk about, some sports safety. Bike shops will often do helmet fittings for kids learning to ride their bikes. And, we mentioned service dogs earlier on, either having some of those service dog trainers come in and actually talk about the work that they do, or even animal shelters can do like, this is how you meet a strange dog safely, and even turning that into something larger of like a animal adoption event. And then for the touch a truck, we've talked a lot about, you get those big ones, the fire, police, and construction, but also having snow plows, maybe even doing a winter themed touch a truck. We talked a lot about, the water treatment facilities, talking about water in Colorado. Where does it go? How can we protect it? And also looking at 4-H as well as like the ranchers and farmers in your community. Someone had dubbed that touch a cow event. Was there anything new in the chat as well, Beth?
Yeah, we've had a few more great things come up. So how about the local fire department has come to picnics in the park for water fights, etc., and to view the truck, sit in the fire truck, etc. Sounds great. Chris mentions have Parks and Wildlife rep come to do a program on caring for our wildlife. And then Judy mentions enlisting local artists to facilitate collaborative art projects. All great ideas. Lovely.
Oh, those are such great ways to really bring the whole community together. And so another way that especially young children can really feel involved in their community is through pretend play and puppet play. Being able to dress up like these community heroes that they see either at your event or just through a story time really helps children with both that social emotional learning, as we keep bringing up, but also, all the benefits of pretend and puppet play. Being able to create these imaginary scenarios, they're able to practice new vocabulary and new skills, try on different roles, being able to switch from a doctor to a firefighter and seeing like, how does that feel differently? How would I act differently in these different roles? All of this pretend play is also huge for our executive function. Taking turns, making a plan. What are we going to do? How are we going to play together is really important for kids. And so at the State Library, we have put together activity kits that can accompany a larger program like we've talked about, whether like more of a Meet the Expert series or a Touch a Truck event, to put that element of pretend play into your program, or just as an extension of your story time, or as a standalone program where it's just being able to come together and play as, in your community. I think, sort of a would you be my neighbor type program where it is just play. So the kits that we have put together comes with a complete set of community helper puppets and community helper costumes, as well as some of the toys that these community helpers would take part in. These are not yet listed on the CSL Kits site, but they are coming soon. Checkout is for 2 months, and so it does take up quite a bit of our summer. And there are currently 2 kits that we are creating, but we also hope that this is an idea as well. You know, even though we've invested in puppets and costumes that have been purchased, they can also be made. Paper bag puppets are very easy and very fun to create. Costumes as well can be made through those larger paper grocery bags, can be made into little vests and decorated to be community helpers. And it's important to remember with kids, their imaginations are so large. It doesn't take anything fancy or formal to get them thinking and playing. Adding boxes to this program could also be a lot of fun, making a little box city that they can engage in and play with, and kind of bringing the community into your library. And through these dramatic play opportunities, we're really allowing kids to see themselves as part of the community and understand how the people in their community come together and work together. So whether you're checking out a kit from the library or just using these ideas to create your own program, we hope this inspires some thoughts on communities in your library. And so before we go to our next part, I just want to check in and see if there's any questions or conversation in the chat.
There isn't any. I popped in the link to our kit website. But if anyone has any comments, ideas, questions, please do type them in the chat.
And so we're actually going to be sending you into breakout rooms. And our hope is that we kind of take this idea of community partners and partnering with your community helpers and community organizations. And we focused, really on the youngest set for our young children in the library. But could this idea of community helpers and community organization partnership be leveled up to serve also the tweens, teens, and adults in your community? So we're going to put you in small groups and talk with your group on how would you apply this? How could you level up our community helpers program to give interest to different age groups in your library? Please do make sure that you pick someone in your group to kind of share out, so that we do have some conversation and sharing after the breakout sessions as well, because I think some really good ideas can come out of here.
All right, we're all ready for the rooms. You'll be in a room with about 3 to 4 people. So here we go.
And I'm going to pause the record. And I would love to hear what was going on in those breakout rooms. Did anyone have some really great ideas with your small groups that you'd like to share about how we could apply this idea of community helpers and inviting the community into the library to older age groups?
I'm happy to share out, Melody.
Yeah, please do, Polly. Thank you.
So we were just thinking about, there's been some great activities at some of our libraries with local volunteer groups, and having the volunteer groups not come in and like do an infomercial recruit, but to share something that they do. So for example, we have some river groups. So what if we were to do a river testing day, and this would be targeted for tweens and teens, and then as part of the presentation, talk about the group and how they accept volunteers. Because I know a lot of our kids have to do volunteer hours for graduation, and it's just building that community. And that led to a destination story time, which I love, one of the libraries does, but to do that as a destination teen time. And it can be anything from wild and crazy stuff to going to the bank and just seeing behind the scenes in the bank kind of thing. And then what do you want to be? Some sort of career related series of local people, some of those unknown careers. And we were joking that it's all about the catchy title, right? So how to get the right title to engage and come in. So yeah, those were some of our ideas.
Those are great. I love the bank. Like, I feel like financial literacy is overlooked so often, and our teens really need that.
So I can share for our group.
Yeah, Lee.
So I mentioned maybe combining an animal shelter visit with a teen service project, and you could do maybe a series and have like one where you host it at the shelter and then the other one's at the library. We talked about the Touch a Truck series, and I can't remember the new things we added to that, but we were just saying how we like that. And then Evangelina suggested for a Meet the Expert series, having maybe a cosmetologist or someone to come in to teach teens about how to do makeup. Or I suggested maybe like grooming things, like taking care of your skin. Yeah, and we had some other ideas too that I have forgotten.
And that the idea of cosmetology makes me think of, like you see often like those like barbershops who offer like free haircuts to the homeless or something like that, like kind of promoting that and using that in partnership too, like free or discounted haircuts for those who need it. Any other groups with some fun ideas to share?
I'd be happy to share a few of ours. So let's see, to start with how about partnering with restaurants and local shops, not only for programming, but also for pricing options. And it was suggested, Brianna, right? That they were going to do, or it might have been Andrea, I'm sorry, I didn't keep it straight, was going to do an around the world expanded thing. And with that, you can not only do food programs, but also culture and all that, and involve the stores around town. Another idea is a service-related project in regards to you bring service providers, say a bike tune-up shop in, teach teens the basics of tuning up bikes, and at the same time, those teens could be helping tune up bikes for younger children. So learning and doing at the same time.
I love that combined approach.
Isn't it? That's going to be figured. You're not going to get the teens back more than once, so it's going to have to be all in one program, that they have to learn the skill and present it at the same time. Another great one was teaming up with the transportation system, maybe not bringing them in, but make a collaborative art where you could make mini billboards to be put on the sides of an Estes Park. They have trolleys or on the bus system that go around this theme of community, togetherness, mindfulness. So that's combining a lot of project areas in one. And then there's always the option of using scavenger hunts that involve your local retailers, something you could post online, and maybe be it a clue with the first letter of a business, and they have to go there to determine if that is the business and or redeem a prize or something else. So not necessarily bringing people in, but getting people out. Helping the retailers as well as getting people out and about and finding out more about their community.
Those are amazing ideas. I love the bus banner. Like This is now like the third one of these meetings that I've attended this year, and everyone has ideas that I never would have thought of. You are all the most creative, amazing librarians. I love you all. Emily, did you want to share too?
Yeah, this is Shelley on Emily's computer. So yes, I will share for our group. There she is. Okay. So we talked about a volunteer job fair for the teens right out of school so they could line up some volunteer jobs for the summer to work on collecting their hours. We talked about our tags, our teen advisory groups, partnering with the local EMS high school class and maybe planning some teen activities. Finding someone to come teach babysitter certification courses at the library, just because that has been a challenge in our rural area. And then maybe inviting them to help with story time where they can meet parents and we can help them start their business, whether that's with making posters or whatever. I mean, you know, there could be lots with that. Police officers reading at story time, firefighters coming to read, but reading Spanish and English books and inviting the Spanish speaking families that are connected with the ESL students and having it combined Spanish and English with both stories, but with the firefighters reading. And then an airport tour, touching an airplane. We have a local airport here. So the new managers of that airport want to partner with a library, and then partnering with a local rec department for teen programming, just because they struggle also. So those were our ideas.
Those are great. I love the added benefits of the babysitter program, of taking that the next step and actually inviting them to story times to meet families.
Yeah, those were great.
Yeah, and really having those native Spanish speakers invited in, like if your staff are not Spanish, like finding those people in the community who are native Spanish speakers and really bringing them into the library as well is a wonderful way to all come together.
A Hispanic firefighter in Kremling, and so that was my idea. He doesn't know this yet, but it's my idea to invite him to come and do that. But I think it'd be great.
I love working with the fire department. It doesn't matter where you go, firefighters are good people. Yeah, ask them before you put them on the poster. Right, were we able to hit all the groups? I wasn't really counting. Or any other ideas that have come up now that we're sharing?
There are a few other groups. Anyone want to share?
Sure, I can share. So in our group, we talked about going directly into the high schools and partnering with teachers. Somebody in our group, their teen librarian, brings Spanish books about quarterly to the Spanish teachers. Not sure exactly what the extent of that is, but that could be one way to like have the students and the teachers recognize who the librarians are, get to know each other. We also talked about having, if you live close to, if you're in a town or a city that's close to colleges or universities, partnering with those groups, maybe having some of those reps come in so you can talk about career planning, talk about scholarships, things like that. And then something that we do currently at our library is something called the Community Exchange. It happens about once a week. Our social worker actually plans it. And we have different local organizations come in, like the DMV, to help people get set up with licenses and all that good stuff. So that was some of our ideas.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Right. Well, I'm going to hand things back to Beth. Thank you so much for all of your ideas and sharing with us today.
Yeah, thank you. As always, we learned so much from you all, and it's just been, as always, an amazing exchange today. We appreciate your input. Are there any last thoughts on programming for kids and teens around the All Together Now theme, or around working with community helpers, or just general services, as we covered initially in this 2-hour session? General services around All Together Now. Give you a few minutes. I think that's all we have technically. But we did want to wrap up. If anyone has any questions, comments, if you've thought of any ideas in the last 2 hours. I could also ask if there is any one particular thought that you came away with in this session that said, oh, I've got to do that, or I really want to consider that. Anything in particular strike you? The Touch a Truck series, great.
Oh, I also just noticed in the chat, does anyone have any ideas for an All Together Now parade float?
Well, for the parade float, you could even have some of these community helpers up there and just celebrate them. Your community is all together now here at the parade. You have your teens decorate the float. That would be nice. Great. Brianna mentions random act of kindness. Yes, they are just such a wealth of resources on this topic and forever. And it was just absolutely delighted to find that they're headquartered in Denver. Never knew before. And another thing that's amazing that that we learned is there are only 2 of them. They're a staff of 2, and they produce so much. It's pretty mind-blowing all that they do. They're really fabulous. So we have some other comments. Having kids dress up as community helpers, right? That's lots of fun. An All Together Now parade, dressed in rainbow colors and blast the Beatles. Love it. Love it, love it. Oh, Beth mentions the handmade bookmarks with uplifting messages. Oh, you'll be finding them for 20 years. Yeah, there's that. Oh, good. Emily, you always have the teen volunteers help us decorate the float. Excellent. Oh yeah, collaborative art. Great, great. Nice, thank you, Christy. Yeah, Random Act of Kindness gave us some booklets that they produced especially for us. So that's fantastic, and Christy's going to take them out on the road. Any other thoughts? And yes, all of this today's session will be available as an archive, just to catch you up, as well as the session last week. This is part 2 of 2. So last week we also had a 2-hour session. These will all be available online. We'll have the archive up soon, and then we'll have all of the resources together. So the archive of the sessions and the slides from the sessions and a whole lot of resources as well that we've mentioned during the sessions. So those will all be available to you to review and to share with coworkers. And if is there anything else? No? Well, thank you all. Oh, great. Christy, she'll send the email today or tomorrow with all the links. Oh, and the link to our survey. We do appreciate if you fill out our brief survey about these. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been delightful this week and last week, and we've learned so much from you. Thank you. Happy summer planning.